Hello, I'm Sarah Russell, former producer of the ADHD Skills Lab. I'm thrilled to introduce my latest project, the Neurodivergent Report, an educational podcast dedicated to empowering neurodivergent individuals with accessible scientific knowledge and amplifying their exuberant stories. In each episode, we'll explore topics like the genetics and heritability of neurodiversity, alongside practical strategies for managing executive dysfunction and emotional dysregulation. Together, we can learn to heal in community. However you are able to engage, thank you for being here. Hello, everyone. So welcome back to the Neurodivergent Report. I'm Sarah Russell, your host, also known as a hysterical woman, and I'm here today with Ronnie Cane. I'm very lucky to speak with him today. Ronnie's based in the UK. He's a late diagnosed ADHD person and then founded the Neurodiversity Directory in January of 2025. So, Ronnie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, this is a really big opportunity for me to do my first ever podcast appearance with you. So,
First
so
ever?
thank you very much for that. Yeah, absolutely. And I own my own podcast as well at my marketing company. Lucky enough to have a host of that takes care of everything though. But here I am out of my comfort zone for once. So thank you for having me.
Amazing. Well, I'm honored and I promise to take care of you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No problem. So, first of all, I just want to hear a little bit more, and I know that my listeners are going to want to hear a little bit more about the Neurodiversity Directory. What I understand about that space is it's an online directory for neurodivergent people to go and market themselves for
Yeah.
free. Do you want to
Yeah.
speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that last part of that, for free question mark, is absolutely the key part of it. To answer that question mark, yes, free now, forever. I think that's a key part of it because the point of it is accessibility. As soon as you start putting in any form of gatekeeping, monetary or not, then the idea of accessibility kind of gets trumped. Okay, so the key point of the Neurodiversity Directory is to have a directory for neurodiversity. Now, when I was first diagnosed a few years ago, like I said in 2021, I didn't really know that word existed. I didn't really know there was a sector called it or really that it was a movement or anything really. It was only just getting to grips with the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, the thing that stood out the most to me is how fragmented and inaccessible, due to unawareness, I would say, the solutions and support that are available to neurodivergent individuals from the neurodiversity sector, how fragmented and inaccessible that is. So it became very clear to me there needed to be what I like to call a digital town square, where those two parties can meet, essentially. Party one being neurodivergent individuals that need support and want support, and party two being the neurodiversity sector's solutions and support that need and want to serve and support more neurodivergent individuals, meeting together at that conjoining point of the digital town square. Now, does that make sense so far?
Yes, it does make sense. And I think my own bias is showing here a little bit because when you said neurodiversity support, I just instinctually understood that to mean neurodivergent people providing support to neurodivergents. But I realize now that also there are just like neurotypicals or like non-disclosing neurodivergents sort of also in the professional sectors providing that support as well. So I just wanted to point that out, that just because I personally am a neurodivergent ADHD coach doesn't mean that everyone who is providing neurodiversity support also identifies with that label.
Yeah, which is something that you might not really
And it's
consider
okay.
until you first consider it, right? Yeah, some of the biggest companies that are in what we're calling the neurodiversity sector, they might have been founded by someone who's, got autism or ADHD or is a father or mother of someone who does, but then everyone else in the company might not, right? And so it's something to really consider. I think the important thing about that neurodiversity sector is that, of course, there are people within it and there are organizations within it that are the neurodiverse supporting the neurodiverse, whether that's through direct support or services or through the advocacy and camaraderie and all of that kind of stuff that is, one and the same with the neurodiversity movement. But you also have the what I would call just outright neurodiversity companies that are focused on innovating with new solutions, whether it's sensory room installations or neurodiversity in the workplace solutions. And they are busy innovating on the solutions. They need people to know they exist in order to be able to
Sensory
serve
room
them.
solutions sounds like a brand new search term for me.
Really? Is that the first time you've come across that phrasing? Yeah. Me too, not that long ago.
Well, that's amazing. I recently came across a meme that was like it was a joke, but they called it the autism steamroller. And so it was just like a bunch of foam like rollers that a kid would just sort of go through to sort of satisfy that sensory need. And I think that's so funny. Forget that we still need that as grown-ups. You know, we forget that we deserve to play too.
Yeah, well, you deserve to give your body what it needs. Okay. No, absolutely. I think a big part of life, regardless of if you're a severely neurodivergent individual in a special school for neurodivergent individuals that will have the sensory rooms for sensory support, all of that kind of stuff. You could be an adult like you or I. We still have a body, right? We still have sensory intake. The hypothalamus or whatever is responsible in the brain for picking that up and whatnot. And we still have the same kind of dysfunctional side of things around that. So sometimes we do need to be steamrolled, absolutely. But as an adult, it's very hard to, I mean, especially if you're late diagnosed, I imagine, it's especially hard to consider the fact that, okay, well, what if my body needs something right now? You know, you could be in a busy workplace completing a task and you wouldn't really give yourself the second to consider whether your body needs something. It's a bit of an unconventional thing to consider.
To suppress that.
Absolutely, yeah. So if you don't consider the things that you need to consider, then they go unconsidered, right?
Sure. Yep. You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. And most of it we don't know. And that's a rule of thumb with neurodiversity, I would say. Absolutely.
Oh, I love that. As such a curious person, there's lots of questions here. You started this project in January of 2025, and it is now about mid-March 2025. Now, when you first started, you sort of had an open call for meetings, and now you are no longer doing that because the response was so incredible. Do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, sure. And I think that's how when you set out to do that kind of thing, essentially just open your calendar, you are opening yourself up to things like burnout, right? To things like hitting your limit, because you don't know where the limit is until you hit it, right? And I certainly hit it, which is always going to happen, really. But I was completely did not expect to hit it, right? I didn't expect to hit that limit. It was really astounding, to be honest, the immediate support, I would say, from almost everyone. I did have a few people slash out at me, to be honest, but that was just because they didn't really understand what I was doing. They thought I was, kind of, whatever. But the support from people that could see that what I had made in the Neurodiversity Directory was simply a directory, right? I think that the idea of a directory in 2025 and beyond isn't something that's thought of that much. It seems like a really old school type of thing, right? Like back in my day, right, when I was growing up, it was something that was in like the back of a huge big book, and it would have like all of the local companies and whatnot that you could find. Nowadays, the idea of a directory isn't something that is like common or popular or whatnot. But to me, it's beautiful because of how simple it is. It's neurodiversity.directory. You go on there and you're able to access everything that you might need to access regarding neurodiversity. And I think that that's a very, very much needed thing.
Absolutely. I was working in the ADHD coaching space for the last 4 years, and I can't tell you how many new, like freshly diagnosed people were just overwhelmed at all of the different types of support, but then all of it's just sort of individuals isolated out in the wilderness, and
Yeah.
it's like you have to
Yeah.
kind of wander around until you find a good fit. But if we were all just sort of a cohesive community and like we could know where to direct people based on the specialties and like the vibes that you're looking for, that's an extremely needed thing. And it's been incredible to watch it grow. Also, I just wanted to say again online or on live, I love how simple the website is. It is, yeah, it's like totally accessible. It's really, screen reader friendly. Um, like if you're looking for something, you can find it. And I love
Yeah.
that. It's not a
Yeah.
lot of fluff.
It's essentially a search engine for that which people will need to search. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for saying that. I like to believe that's kind of my unique personality, really, of that no bullshit element, of no fluff. No bullshit is the less formal term for no fluff. Absolutely. I think at the very minimum, neurodivergent individuals, when they find out that is who/what they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
They need to be able to be signposted to these relevant communities, these relevant networks. Now, neurodiversity is a term, which it is, and the term denotes a movement, which it does. And neurodiversity has become a sector which has solutions
Mm-hmm.
and what support for neurodivergent individuals. Neurodiversity then has a network implicitly. What I've tried to do by creating the Neurodiversity Directory is making the Neurodiversity Network go from implicit to explicit. Because what you've just said there, it being a cohesive unit that can be connected to, looked around, find someone or something, connect with
Mm-hmm.
them. That's a cohesive unit, but it can't be a cohesive unit if the network is still implicit in just happening behind the scenes in just a bunch of silos. We're not going to get anywhere that way. So it's
Yeah,
a very simple
definitely.
idea to me. Yeah.
And I've also looked for sort of collectives of coaches or like communities of people doing this work. But for reasons that I totally understand, they all sort of have a financial obligation, which unfortunately isn't something that I can sort of take on right now. So again, I really love that the directory is here. It does have a sort of some community aspects to it, but as you said, sort of those features are not being used right now. So anybody who's listening and gets like random requests to connect for me, we're just doing the work.
Yeah, we're just dragging you into what you should already be in. Absolutely, yeah. It's
Yeah, for sure. I'm just
yeah,
gonna set the model. I hope
yeah.
you come along.
Well, I appreciate you being an ambassador for that. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, people can't use the community and network features that are on the Neurodiversity Directory unless they are a user of the directory,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think in the first, a few weeks that we've been live, we've been able to get, I think, about 28 users organically sign up as a user on the website, which again has been astounding for me. I've not really done any work, let's say, to make that the case. So it's happened organically, which I
Mm-hmm.
did not expect at all. But one thing that they won't know is that community aspect that is part of the directory. You're a user on it. I'm a user on it. Anyone can create an account on it, and they can add you as a friend, add me as a friend. Hopefully, add us both as a friend. They can message you, message me. Hopefully, message us both. So yeah, to go back to the calendar and meeting thing, I'm no longer taking meetings, but I can absolutely be messaged on the
Mm-hmm.
Neurodiversity Directory.
Yeah, absolutely. And same for me. I'm on there. It's really awesome. I love connecting with people. Sort of one of my core values is just like as a social researcher. And so meeting people and hearing their stories is, I don't know, it's just a part of that. Like you can't take that
So
away
important. Yeah,
from who I am. So yeah,
yeah.
definitely come meet us. Yeah. And I think I'm just going to circle back before we get a little bit more personal. I asked you before we started recording if I could like help you make money, like help tell people how to pay you. And you're like, no, I don't actually really need that. This is just a nice thing for me to do right now. So that's really nice. And I wanted everybody else to hear that too.
Thanks for touching on it, I guess. I think one thing that...
So the reason why it's really important is to do something for someone else free of expectation of reciprocation is really important, and it shows who you are as a person.
Yeah. Don't want it to put me in too much of a good light, but yeah.
Well,
I'll have my flaws, but yeah, it's definitely...
We certainly do struggle to celebrate our successes and to recognize where we are strong. And yeah, I mean, I'm a mom, so I know that we don't get complimented nearly enough as people in this world. So I just wanted to do that for you.
Yeah, I really appreciate your warmth and definitely receive it. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think a benefit of what I ended up doing really is that yes, it's a directory, but that's only what it is. It's all it is, right? And the other directories out there, best of luck to them, also almost bolt-ons to something else. Right, there'll be a different type of organization that has a directory as part of its website. So that's kind of a different thing. Mm-hmm. Through just being a directory, a dot directory, it means that we could just focus on the one thing of just being a directory, of being that digital town square. It keeps it super simple. There's no entry requirements other than being applicable to entry. There's not a yearly or a monthly fee, because that would completely change the idea of it being accessible to neurodivergent individuals that might need the people that are on there. And one thing that's important to say, just in case I change strategy in a year or two and end up making myself look like an idiot here, is that of course it's free for people to be on the directory, as long as they're an applicable applicant. But in the future, there will absolutely be and what's the term people use? Freemium, I guess, right? There will absolutely be the ability for, if thousands of people...
features.
Yeah, absolutely. If thousands of people are visiting the directory each day, it would be wrong for us then to not be able to turn a feature on that would allow people to promote themselves towards the top of this directory to some degree, to be able to receive more of the people that are wanting to have their support. So that would be something in the future, but right now it needs to become more of an authority than it is in order for that to be something that is even make sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. This podcast, for example, is going to be released as audio only, but I am recording video. So in the future, if you feel like paying to watch my video podcast, let me know.
Yeah, but on a Patreon or something. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Okay. So, who are you? No. Did you always suspect sort of that you had some kind of neurodiversity going on? Sort of tell me about
that. That's the most perfect way to ask that question as well, because I don't know if I've ever actually considered it. I don't know if I ever considered that I had or was, right? I suppose it goes back to the you don't know what you don't know thing, right? I knew, I certainly knew that others didn't know. I certainly knew all the time, as something that I carried along with me everywhere I went, that others didn't know about me. So by that rule then, I had to know more than them. I had to have known more than them about me because I was me. But I knew there was missing pieces here, right? Or things that could have been explained or communicated, or which obviously causes that disconnect. If I'm disconnected from the things that I could connect others to that would help them connect with me, then disconnection ripples out from there. I certainly knew that I stood alone the entire time. Actually, probably be the easiest, quickest, and most sad way of putting it. Absolutely, straight up.
Would you? Yeah, no, I appreciate your honesty. I definitely had like the black sheep thing. I always felt like the Eeyore of the group, but also sometimes I was Tigger. Um,
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, no, I like that a lot.
yeah. But also like for me, I very clearly saw issues with my parents. Like I knew that they were different from everybody else too. So I knew that like that meant I was also different, but back then I didn't have the words like, "Oh, we have ADHD." And I wonder if you had a similar experience, like did you
Yeah.
recognize it in any family members?
Um,
How we're socialized by them really
yeah,
makes a
no,
difference.
not really.
Hmm.
But because I think regulation was a key part of my childhood and upbringing. To be very honest, I was regulated. My environments typically, well, I mean, I say typically, no environment's constantly regulated, right? Absolutely not. Um, I was typically regulated. My environments were typically regulated, and so were my core relationships. Outside of, when you have to go into this system, like the education system and whatnot, when you come home. So I was very, very lucky in that aspect. Parents that loved each other and loved me were always around. So very, very lucky
Wow.
in that aspect. Um,
Thank you so much. I'm just going to stop you for a moment
Mhm.
and point out the enormous amount of privilege that you just like announced to the world. And you did it willingly and knowingly. I think. Um, I just want
Yeah,
to point out for everyone who isn't looking at you. Also, you are a white male, and I think that's important.
yeah, yeah.
I think that's important in the context of the rest of the conversations. Just because, yeah, being regulated, I'm sure, even just being regulated feels like a privilege.
Mm. Yeah. Um, what do you think are the implications of that, if any,
Uh,
of knowing all of that as a privilege?
so, oh, wait, hold on. Can you ask that a different way? Because I'm not sure if I understand. Why did I
Yeah.
want to point that out?
No. Um, like I think that it's the fact that regulation is indeed a privilege, because you are right. It is not. It is the rarity. It's not the norm.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah, yeah. That is
Hmm.
the neurodivergent report, right? If you could do it,
Yeah,
if you could one word of what is the neurodivergent report as of right now, it's dysregulation.
yeah.
So
Instability. Yeah.
yeah, so I think the implications then of having the privilege of being able to grow up regulated, knowing what regulation is is tectonic. The implications it has for me, because it allowed me then, and allows me to be able to figure things out myself, right? Like I was able to spend a lot of time alone, because when I wasn't alone, I was loved and regulated.
Wow.
So I
You
was
were
able to
able
figure
to
things out
build
myself.
skills,
Yeah,
yeah, the problem solving skills that you needed without
yeah,
sort of the emotional pain
yeah. I was able to deal with
that
life.
a lot of us,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And also, we're taught in therapy often as neurodivergents that like mindfulness is going to cure us, and while mindfulness is a wonderful tool, sometimes we don't have good physical feelings or good emotional feelings to like connect to. And so when we do mindfulness and we do interoceptive work, we're just connecting with a bunch of shit in our bodies and we're like, ew, I hate this, I'm never doing this again.
yeah. It's a good way of putting it.
So yeah, that's another way. Like you need to have an example of regulation to be able to reach for it when you really need it.
Yeah, that is the most perfect way of putting it. Yeah, and I mean, I'm if there's any of my close friends that would listen to this, they would know that I am guilty often of saying what you've just said there regarding mindfulness. Of mindfulness is the cure, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because it's the closest thing
Same.
to it. It's the closest thing
Yeah.
to it. Obviously, it's absolutely not. There's no such thing as a cure.
Yeah.
But you cannot have mindfulness unless you can be in your mind and know you're safe, right? And feel safe. The default mode network of the brain of when you're at rest, when the brain shifts to a default mode network, and you can start getting those random thoughts, whatever they might be. It's how much resistance do you have to receiving whatever the default mode network is saying.
You have to have a tremendous ability to hold grief and to process trauma and loss. It's sort of more ambiguous losses. It's not like, oh, I died when I was diagnosed, but it's sort of like, yeah, I lost a little bit of mobility when I was diagnosed with this physical condition, or there's all sorts of tiny little losses that come with, I think, chronic conditions like neurodiversity or whatever.
And I think your time, right, as your and to go back to the implications of my regulation, right? I think as you go through life, your time is what is dying constantly, and what you're losing, and what you're grieving how you've just lost your time, or how your time's just been spent, right? Like every human has a conversation with someone, and at some point thinks, maybe I should have said it this way. I hope they didn't think I meant that, X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. And it's how you then spend your time in the present moment beyond that experience of grieving that time that's just gone, right? And if you are a neurodivergent individual that has gone their whole life being undiagnosed, you are a neurodivergent individual that's gone their whole life contending with what that grieving process looks like, then, of how you experience and spectate and commentate on your own life experience as it goes along. And then when you get diagnosed, it's almost like a hammer that gets taken to that glass sheet of memories, experiences, and it all starts again.
Yeah, there's sort of a identity reconstruction that needs to happen.
Yeah, certainly, which is no easy task.
No, and it's not really something that we should do in isolation either. I think that's a very dangerous thing.
Yeah, but most people have to, right? And I suppose if you don't have the privilege of knowing what an example of internal regulation looks like, you probably can't do it in isolation, right? Or you need that co-regulation in order to deal with it, quite frankly.
Totally.
Right? These are very frank words.
Yeah, totally. I'm just gonna stop and define co-regulation for the listeners, because I don't know. That might be super niche. So co-regulation is the concept of like self-regulating your emotions with another person. So the really common example would be me with my toddler. They throw tantrums all the time. And in order for me to stay regulated, I need to make sure I'm doing my breath work and I'm keeping positive intent in my mind. Like, no, he's a toddler. He did not just throw that at your head on purpose. And if I'm able to stay regulated, then I'm also able to use my regulation, my co-regulation. I can bring him in for a hug and let my breath co-regulate him, or maybe we need to do some tickles to co-regulate, but we need to find a way to do it together, and that can be a
Beautiful
really
example.
bonding experience. I firmly believe that healing happens in community.
Yes, absolutely.
It was bell hooks that said that.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, and really beautiful example. Probably one of the most core beautiful examples, isn't it, of a mother and child regulation like that? Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no, of course. So I really wanted to ask you, what did you want to be when you grew up? Because founder of the Neurodiversity Directory is probably not it.
Zookeeper was the first one that I remember.
Oh my gosh, what's your favorite animal?
Back then, I think it was all about the penguins for me, but orangutans quickly came into the picture. So it'd be one of those two if I had to be a zookeeper. If I had to be, if I was forced to be, beyond my will.
Amazing.
Thank you astronaut.
For sharing.
That was the next one. And then it was actually just as boring as business person. Honestly, it really became
Somebody
boring.
probably told you about money.
Yeah, I figured out that you know, whether we like it or not, that was a core proponent of the game.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but not really not really influenced by capitalism or the idea of it. Really, to be honest, it was influenced by my disagreeableness. Right, the people that I probably much like yourself, people that are close to you in your life right now are neurodivergent. People that are in my bubble are neurodivergent. And they're the same people really that were in my life back then, right? When I was a child, the same people. They were neurodivergent then, they're neurodivergent now. I didn't know that they were neurodivergent. They didn't know either. Because, but they were compliant, let's say. It's the only word I can say to describe it. They were a lot more compliant than me. So how they would cope with the systems that weren't suited for them was that they would try really hard. They would try really hard to do their best because they believed, probably rightly, that what their best looked like was them trying their best to fit in with the system. Now I couldn't try my best. That wasn't what trying my best looked like. Me trying my best looked like trying not to trying my best in the way they thought it looked like. There wasn't a mutually exclusive element, which was non-compliance. A severe level of disagreeableness.
Sounds like a little bit of a PDA profile going on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely has fueled that.
Autonomy is really important.
Yes. Yeah.
And you know what? That one has a terrible name, and so that's why I only use the acronym now.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
I met someone just the other day who was talking about how these genetic traits of neurodivergence serve an evolutionary purpose. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist. And so we need to, whenever we're trying to demonize behavior, we need to think about it in those terms a little bit. What is the function of this behavior in society? And is it really bad, or is it just bad for the status quo?
Yeah. Who's it actually bad for? Yeah, absolutely. You have to dig into that. Yeah, I was lucky enough to be able to accept my fascination with psychology and things like that at an early age, and then be able to read books like Good Reasons for Bad Feelings, where you can look into the evolutionary or biological purposes of your bad feelings, right? And see, well, maybe what are they trying to tell me? They're trying to tell me that this system isn't a good fit for me. So then why would I try? Why would I try to fit into it, right? My job is to help make the next one, which is what I'm doing now.
Yeah. So in elementary school, my school was called Multicultural Magnet School. And so the pillars of community that I was taught was trustworthiness and sharing and respect. And I just wonder, I look around me now and I wonder where those values are. And I grieve the world that I feel like we lost. But recently I wonder if maybe I'm not called to usher in that world.
Yeah.
Maybe it never existed.
Yeah. And I agree. I believe that I believe that it didn't exist, and I believe that I knew that. Right. I believe that when I was sat there as a young boy in that room around other young boys and girls, I believe that I knew inside. Yeah, that I was cynical. I believe that I was looking around going, guys, why is no one switched on here? Is no one thinking this maybe isn't the right thing anymore?
Yeah. I believe you. I do.
Yeah. I know, yeah.
Are you reading anything right now?
Yeah, about 4 books actually. So how much do you want to go into this?
Stop it. I'm also reading multiple books. You could just sort of say what is the title and why are you reading it? And I'll do the same just because I think that would be totally cool.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of that. I finished 2 yesterday, so I'm going to have to remind myself where I was at.
I can even start. I'm currently reading, actually, they're all right here. I've got the Racial Healing Handbook, This is like a workbook, sort of like a devotional. So I sit down with this book when I've got a little bit of time for emotional work and some time for writing. That's lovely. This one is probably my favorite. It's called On Tyranny. But this is the graphic edition. So it's like the comic book edition. So I call it my picture book when I need some art, when I need just something fluffy to sit down and read one page of. And then I'm also reading Raising Good Humans because it's for my mom's book club that we're going to meet. We meet every month and talk about a parenting book. And it's just a nice space for moms in my town to get together.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's great that you've got that. Yeah, definitely. I personally, I can't wait to be reading books like that, right? Where, when I know that I'm on that almost precipice of myself, my age in the future, it's like, okay, I've got to start taking those books off the shelf,
Well, they're even good for you to do like self-parenting work. Parenting work.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, reparenting is a big concept, isn't it? Because the main book that I'm reading right now is actually something that my tribe, my entire tribe, came together and tried to get for me for my last birthday, actually, which was very special, a very special thing indeed. And it was Carl Jung's The Red Book, the facsimile edition, the huge. I wouldn't even be able to carry it in to show on camera.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's really, really, really big. So you have to have a huge table out to be able to open the page. And I've been reading now for about 6 months, and I'm probably about 5% in. I suppose like before I get to that stage where I'm taking those books off that shelf, I'm in the stage of alchemy, of doing of reconciling and coming to terms with all of my inner worlds. After spending so long allowing myself to be resentful for the outer worlds, let's say, which I no longer am, I banished the spirits of resentment from being within me.
Wow.
Because I don't think that's productive anymore.
I banish the spirits of resentment from within me.
The powerful spell.
Anybody else who's listening and want to join in, this feels potent. Yeah, I mean, that's really why I use tarot cards for journaling and for that therapy work.
Yeah, therapy work, definitely. Self-therapy.
It just helps you think about specific dimensions of being a human.
Yeah, which usually is hard to think about. You only ever think about things from your perspective.
Especially hard to like dig into just one part of it, because it's like
yeah. But that's a strength of our thinking style, actually, though, isn't it? Is the ability to be, quote, all over the place, and then the ability to hone in on one place.
Yeah, sort of take the spaghetti brain and then find that one strand and be like, okay, we're gonna follow this one down.
Okay, we follow this bit. That has to be intuitive, doesn't it? That has to be decided from the inside as well, in my opinion.
So we have had such a wonderful conversation, and I don't even want it to be over, but it has to be. Maybe we'll come back and do some more. So I didn't tell you about this in advance, but my ending segment of my podcast is sort of going to be me shuffling these cards up, and I'm going to pick a random question for you. So these are from a company called We're Not Really Strangers. I am not affiliated with them. I don't even know them, but I love their work, and this was free. They gave it to me for free, so that's very kind of them. And now I'm just going to ask you a question. If you don't like this one, we could pick another one.
Okay. How many is there?
There's a few.
Okay.
So this one says, what's something that you used to feel insecure about but don't anymore?
Beautiful. And I haven't even answered it yet. Brilliant. Needing help.
Wow.
And the first connection my mind made with that really is that's only really been able to happen of the shedding of that insecurity because of the growth or unification of the inner masculine energies of me, I would say. I believe that it is a masculine energy, speaking personally, obviously, to first know that you need help. And then it's the feminine energy in me that is the element that works with that masculine energy that starts the surrender process that then allows me to get out of my own way and signal that that I not only need help, but I would like help. I would want someone else to be in my way with me, you know. And that's certainly a new thing, right? I went 21 years not being told that I need help and not being given it. So I had to help myself, obviously, until I was told I will always need help. And then since then, it's been a process of me allowing, not accepting or being aware, allowing it to be the case that I will always need severe help. And there's parallels with this with my professional life. Let's say I have always been and I always will be a founder, which means once I've founded the thing, then what? I need help. You know, I will always need help.
I think we all always need help, and we've forgotten that.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are human beings, not human doings. And in this age, we almost always need help to be more, not really do as much. And we can't do any of that in isolation. But the modern life is typically spent in isolation, right? You're there, I'm here. But we need to be able to ask for help, no matter what, no matter where, you know, no matter who, really. And that's a core aspect of life that I do think we're almost clawing back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is such a beautiful and insightful answer to this question. Thank you so much. I was just going to say my laugh, like, and you come in. Amazing.
Oh, your laugh.
Amazing.
That was a great question. I like those cards.
Awesome. Amazing. Yes. Great. Well, listen to my podcast and then maybe you can hear some more of the questions.
Absolutely.
Just kidding.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So if people want to find you and connect with you, what are some of the various ways that they can do so?
The main one would be LinkedIn. For my sins, I have been on LinkedIn since I first entered the workplace as a sweet 16-year-old boy. So I've built a profile on there. So my LinkedIn, Ronnie Cane, obviously, and then the Neurodiversity Directory, neurodiversity.directory. And my email, if anyone wants to email me as well, is at ronnie@neurodiversity.directory.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here, both you, Ronnie, and you, listeners.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for holding the space, Sarah. And thank you for inviting me on. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I look forward to seeing how things grow for us both in the future.
Me too. Me too. Very excited.
Awesome. Be well. Thank you for being here. If you want to connect with the Neurodivergent Report, you can find us at ND Report Pod on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube. If you're looking to support the show, the best thing you can do is to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. Please. You can check out ndreportpod.com for more information, or if you want to be a guest contributor. Until next time, be well, do good.